All right. You're getting a video because this is something that I've talked about a lot and honestly kind of talk shit on a lot for a long time when it comes to quarterstaff fighting, all right? So I got a lot of thoughts about this. I just didn't feel like typing it all out. So there's a few main issues, I say. I think that there's three main issues. I really don't have this written down or anything, but I think there's three main issues if I remember correctly. Um, so whenever you transition out of shield fighting into a different fighting style, I always look at it as I'm trading the protection and versatility of having a shield and survivability of having a shield for some other gain, right? So, like if I'm fighting with two weapons, I'm increasing my shot selection a lot, right? My shot volume is going up quite a bit. If I'm fighting with a red weapon, then now red's a huge category. But if I'm fighting with a red weapon, then I'm getting some standoff distance, I'm getting some reach, and I'm getting a lot of power and I'm getting the ability to break shields. So I still have a good amount of shot selection, especially as you go shorter in the reds into just like the 4 to 6 foot swords. Like you still preserve a lot of your shot selection. You have a lot of range, which is good because you generally kind of start having a more squared up stance when you fight red. Like just very simply, it's kind of hard to demonstrate, but like the second that I have to have both of my hands on an object, it's going to square my shoulders to some degree, right? Unless I have a very awkward pushed off to the side. So I'm squaring my shoulders. That's going to make my footwork a little bit more boxy. It's going to make my hip box bigger, um it's going to push my forearms out in front, which are going to make it easier for me to get chicken winged or hitting the forearm or whatever, but that's the trade off, right? Like you are getting this standoff distance and this power and the shot selection at the expense of some vulnerability. When we look at double greens, look at spears, again, this is a really big trade off, but it's a lot more exaggerated. You're trading a lot of standoff distance for a lot of standoff distance for a very small amount of shot selection. You are really and defense to a degree. Because you can still if you're really dope, you can have some good half blocks and such. But again, you're getting a lot of distance out of the deal. So again, these are all advantages over not having a shield, right? I'm a shield fighter is kind of how I look at the different categories. And these are all worth it. Two stick, higher shot selection, red weapon, good shot selection, good standoff distance, good power, shield breaking. Double green, long spears, lots of standoff distance. A very small amount of shot selection, but a lot more availability of targets because of the distance that you have. All right. So I've kind of defined the bonuses and negatives to these different fighting styles with your shield fighters really sacrificing everything for versatility and survivability, right? You don't have as much shot selection as a two stick fighter. You don't have the range or power of a red fighter. You don't have the opportunities of a spear fighter. And fighting red, two stick, and spear gives you a much better chance against armored fighters than being just a single blue using shield fighter. So when I look at bow staffs, what I see is a weapon that gives a lot of the negatives of fighting without a shield and almost none of the positives. You don't retain the shot selection you have fighting with a red or a blue and shield, or two stick, right? You're limited in your shot selection quite a bit because I can't really imagine a way that you're slashing with a spear that's not very predictable or formulaic. And if you're going to end up using your spear, your staff, I mean, if you're going to end up using your staff a lot as a thrusting weapon, then we really got to start wondering why is this better than just using an Omni min red, or an Omni 5 foot red, something like that. Some other things to consider, again, we're talking about how it's going to box your stance. you have both of your hands out in front of you. I imagine a lot of the time, as you're like, if you're blocking, block striking, interacting, you're squaring your stance, you're putting your forearms out in front, and as your forearms are out in front, you're not gaining any standoff distance. Because, yeah, you're holding a pole, but if you have your hands apart on this pole, you're not gaining the advantage of the reach you would have if you had both your hands at the end of it. And so I imagine one of the ways you would mitigate this with an actual staff is by quickly transitioning between grips, sliding into a grip that's like a spear, using it like a spear, sliding into a grip where you're using it more like a red sword, like a 4 to 6 foot sword, and then sliding into a defensive like wide grip that you're using for like posting and blocking incoming attacks. I think the reason that's not gonna work is because of padding and the fact that you can't transition, like it's not a uniform surface. You can't quickly transition between grip styles. And maybe with a lot of training you could, but with a lot of training you could probably just be better fighting a different style. That's what I see to be generally more effective. Um, the only thing I see that you really gain from fighting with a staff is leverage. You gain a lot of leverage because when you're fighting with like a glaive or a red, you have a lot of pushing power. When you come down, you're pushing. There's very few things in foam fighting that come down to like the pulling motion, like something that's going to can opener, like maybe like putting your shield edge inside somebody and ripping it open. Like these pulling motions don't seem to be very common. And so I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying one of the only reasons I really see to be using a staff would be if I want to manipulate my opponent's body or gear, and I want to be able to use this like wide grip with this lever that I'm holding onto to really lever, like sticking the bottom inside of a shield and ripping it open and like following through into a shot. But given how fast foam fighting is, I just don't know if you're going to have those opportunities all that often. I think there's some pretty funny trollish things you could do, like if it's kind of hard to demonstrate, but like if I have like my staff right and I like reverse grip it and I duck in and I can like catch shots to my back shield while I rip open the board fighter. That might be kind of cute, or as I throw like stabs into the bottom of the shield. So in a vacuum, I think that quarter stabs are generally really bad. The people that I've fought who have used stabs, there's only been like 2 or 3 of them who have like tried to use it. I've I fought them at, I think the last person I fought doing it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. But I fought these people throughout, like those 3 people throughout my entire fighting career, and even from the time that I was a very new fighter until the most recent one that I fought, I wasn't ever really impressed. I never really like. I kind of just like, this is a guy I get to goof off on and like still be effective, and that ended up being true. So, if you think that you have like the secret sauce and you think that you have like kind of like found an effective way to fight staff, I'd love to see it. I don't think that I can really appreciate any of the things that I think it's going to be very hard for me to evaluate whatever it is you think you figured out without seeing it. And I know like it's gonna have to be on video, but like I would enjoy seeing a video. Maybe if you can just like tie a shield to something or like have the wife hold a shield or something and like demonstrate a little bit like what's going on, why you think it's going to be good, because I have my reasons which are mostly formed in a vacuum, like a theoretical vacuum, and then I have a few anecdotal experiences. And then I have the statistical experience of like, nobody really does it. And if nobody does it, then I assume that it's neither that fun or that good, right? Like, I get it that, like, things like Down Spear and, like, Madu fighting and Amtgard isn't, like, super optimal, but it's really fun. And so that's why people, like, do it. And the fact that I see so few staff fighters leads me to believe that it's neither super fun or it's just not good, and maybe it's just so not good that it's just frustratingly not fun. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Sorry for the long video.